Hello, Internet. Um, if you read the title of this video, then you know where it's going. On September 15th of this year, 2025, I became an amputee. Realistically, I didn't know if I wanted to make content out of this. I fought with myself going back and forth as to whether or not I wanted to make a video addressing my hand. And what I landed on was that no matter what I was going to do in the future, if I wanted to make videos about bartending or traveling or whatever, inevitably I would have to show my hand on camera and somebody was going to ask me a question about it. So I figured I ought to start here, and that way I'd be able to point back at this video and I wouldn't have to relive it over and over again in comments or messages or something. I was at home, I was building something in the backyard, I was working with some power tools. In particular, I was working with a table saw, and yeah, I cut my finger off. I have push sticks, I was trying to be safe. I don't even know if I was using a piece of wood in that moment. Whatever happened, it's gone. The memory's not there. I was working on something, and then I felt a tug, and when I looked down, I just thought, well, that's not going to be the way it was. My finger came off, and at first I thought it might be in the work glove that I was wearing. Some people say I shouldn't have been wearing work gloves. Other people say that I should be wearing work gloves. Maybe I fall on the I shouldn't have been wearing work gloves, as I currently don't have a finger. I saw that my hand was really hurt. The middle finger, as you can tell, was also pretty thrashed. So I went over to the kitchen window where my partner was cooking dinner, and I told her that we needed to go to the hospital. And she said, "Do you need to go to urgent care or do you need to go to a hospital?" And I said, "We need to go to a hospital." So we got in the car and drove to an emergency room. I went through security, and the security guard asked me to empty my pockets, and I said I can't. I was holding my hand like this, and I said I can't put my hands in my pockets. My lost a finger and the other one is sideways, and my finger may or may not still be in the glove that is dangling off my wrist. And he said, "Go on in." And when I looked in there and I saw a line, I said, "Sir, do I have to sit in that long line?" And he said, "Unfortunately, yes." So I sat in a line behind people who were complaining about back pain and people who were complaining about headaches and, you know, more than likely all real issues, but it was hard to listen to while I was sitting there and my middle finger was the wrong direction and my pointer finger was nowhere to be found. And when I got up there, the lady behind the desk said, "So you're having a bad day? What brings you in exactly?" And I just went, "I really messed up my hand." And I flashed my hand, and she turned super white and said, "All right, Dave, why don't you go ahead and sit in that wheelchair right there? We'll get you back there." They cut my shirt off me and my glove off me, and the doctor said, "Well, I've got some bad news. The finger is not in the glove." And by then, my partner, Molly, had joined me in the emergency room, and I just remember looking at her. She had that 1,000-yard stare of like looking at a wall, and I said, "Love?" And she went, "Yes." And I said, "Would you mind very terribly if going back to the house and seeing if you can find my finger?" And she went, "Finger, yeah, I can do that." And she left. And I remember looking at the doctor and saying, "If she finds my finger, will she have to stand in that terribly long line?" And the doctor said, "No, if she comes back holding a finger saying, 'I have that dude's finger,' they'll let her through." She brought my finger. She's a rock star. I couldn't have done this without her. I couldn't have gotten through this. And they put it on ice, and then they informed me that they didn't have a specialist in-house, so that I would have to go to a different facility. And then that facility canceled on me. So then they tried a third facility, and they said they'd take a look at me. But by the time that I was going and by the time they had time to look at me, something like 6 hours had passed. I had the accident around 7:30 at night, and by the time someone was looking at me, With any certainty of trying to reattach my finger, it was probably between 1 and 3 in the morning. And once they got the x-rays of my hand and the finger in question and everything, they determined that putting it back on was not possible. So, yeah, I spent 9 hours bleeding through my finger just for them to say they couldn't put it back on. But I really wanted to have that phone call in the morning to my mom saying, I had an accident, but don't worry, they managed to put everything back on. But that was not possible. So now I have a long road of recovery. These two are fairly good. The thumb was hurt a little bit, but it's pretty much fine. The nubbin does move a little bit, and I'm going to figure out what kind of functionality that gets. And my middle finger moves, but still has pins in it, and it doesn't have much bending right now. But we are hopeful that my middle finger will get back to something like full functionality. Here's hoping. I don't know if I'm going to be making much content about bartending for a little while, mostly because I can only use one hand for a lot of stuff. But if any of you have questions about what it's like to go through life with fewer fingers or without the ability to use a hand that looks like you should be able to use at least some of it, feel free to drop me a comment. I can't wait for the bills to start coming in because we're going to see exactly how much it costs in the American healthcare system to not put a finger back on my hand. I don't know. This is just me announcing that I've had a setback and I'm going to figure out what to do next. And I would like to continue making content on occasion. And maybe that's going to be about recovery. Maybe that's going to be about other things. But if you have questions or you want to just reach out and chat, like, I guess, hello, my name's Dave. I have a minor amputation. Ask me anything. It seems disingenuous and a little callous to say like and subscribe to hear about my journey. But if any of you are interested in what my life is going to be like going forward, feel free to subscribe, reach out. I'll answer any questions I can. If you know me personally and this is how you found out, I am sorry, but it is a lot of emotional work to relive that over and over again with every phone call. So I figured I would just do this and it would live somewheres. And if you stumble upon it and you have any questions, or you want to reach out, feel free. Maybe don't call me if you know me personally. Maybe just send me a text message. I don't really know how to end this. I don't even know if this is going to be its own video or if I'm going to attack something in at the end, but just know that I'm safe, I'm all right, and I'm looking at what my life looks like now that this has happened to me. But all right, goodbye, internet.